Hello, this is Sammy,
This is Carlos.
and this is Rizen Gen.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, this is our third episode, and so far, I've really been enjoying this. I hope you guys are too. And if you're new, subscribe, like, and comment along in the video.
Yeah, be interactive. Give us suggestions on topics you would want to hear from us.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great comment.
And today we'll be talking about living out your faith in the workplace and how to deal with, people who don't believe the same things, etc.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, how does this apply, Sammy, if I work from home? I'm just kidding. It still applies. It still applies.
Okay, we'll talk about working from home in a bit. That's a little different.
Yeah.
But I think first off, something that we can all relate to is we all have like a boss or someone we report to.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I just started working at a place fresh out of college. It's different from jobs in high school or working at the nonprofit, but
It's more professional. Huh?
way more professional. It's structured. You have HR involved. You have like actual departments.
It feels like what they say, a career versus just a job. Yeah.
It's totally different. And so something I've had to adapt to is, okay, yes, this is my boss. This is my supervisor. But as a Christian, I'm not working for them. I'm working with them. My boss or my Lord is Jesus. So that kind of shapes the way I interact.
Mm-hmm.
And there's verses that talk about it. I see we're staring at the same verse. Do you want to read Colossians?
Okay. Chapter 3, verse 23. Yeah, we both study differently. That's hilarious. That's the first verse. All right.
Nice.
So it says Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 to 24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving.
Right. It's kind of like the point I was making. Like, yes, he's your boss. Yes, these are your coworkers. But I try to remind myself, I'm not working for them. So if they treat me wrong, I'm not going to
Get offended.
because I'm not working for them. I'm not living my life for their success, but rather, no, I'm working with them. I'm going to help them out. But if they give me attitude, that's fine. My higher up is God. And so I report to him.
Yeah, like when I read this verse, what it means to me is like, especially that part where it says, whatever you do. So I almost remember, like, it doesn't matter what job you do, even like how you were saying earlier, maybe it is before college,
High school jobs,
even high school job or something you're just doing in the meantime. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as it's not something bad, But whatever you do, do it with all your heart. So when I read that is you have to be almost of course, there's levels in your career that you're going to excel in, but always give your 100%. When I read this verse, okay, if God gave me the privilege to have this career or be able to do the gifts that he's given me, I have to make sure, because I'm not, like you said, I'm not working for my boss, but this is giving thanks to God and he would provide if I put in all my heart and effort.
Yeah. And I think you really notice the difference in the workplace when you see people who are really trying hard versus people who are just
cruising.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of friends that are cruising. I love them. They're great people and I actually enjoy them in the workplace. But when it comes to, let's say, a tough time, they're mostly cruising and it sucks.
Yeah, like a major project that...
Yeah. And then you need their help and they're just kind of like in the background, not helping or not even there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I understand. Like when someone tells me how I should act in the workplace is whatever you do, remember that. Do your best work.
And it can be hard. This summer, I was in Colorado working at the YMCA resort, and I was doing a lot of janitorial work, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't like what I do now. Nothing close to what I do now. But,
I'm pretty sure there's days that sucked.
It sucked. There was plenty of days where things are clogged. I'm not going to say what the things were. And you had to put on gloves, put on a smile, because there's customers walking around. And you have to put on your best smile. And times like those, I really just had to remind myself, I'm not doing it for the YMCA. I could care less. I'm doing it because I want to glorify God. And this is a way for me to do something and say, God, thank you that I have arms and I'm able to do this. Thank you that I have life. Thank you. You know, there's ways that you can worship God even in the dirty work, this work that sucks, because you're not doing it for your boss or for the people, but you're doing it for something greater than even yourself.
Yeah, it's also because your attitude and the way you are is like you are the light in the workplace. So there are people that are going to be rude and everything, but you always have to stand above that, almost like suck it in, because you have to be the better person. And then people will realize, like, what's different with this guy? You know, every day he shows up, he does his 100%. He doesn't really complain. Maybe once in a while, you know, because we are humans.
And that happened. We slip.
Yeah, we're not saying that like you have to be like angels and perfect. There's moments that you're gonna be like, oh God, but remember, you know, I'm not doing this for this person. You know, I'm doing this in service to God.
And when you slip, you can apologize. You can like amend things if you did like really mess up and you like spazzed out on a coworker. You know, be the bigger person, apologize. But I've definitely noticed that, like, at my job, first thing I wanted to find out was, are there Christians here? And there was one Christian.
How did you bring that topic about?
Actually, like, it was subconsciously, not subconsciously, I consciously wanted to know, but I didn't bring it up in like open discussion. But I mentioned that I go to church, and one of my coworkers were like, "Oh, you should talk to him. He's Christian." And I was like, "Oh, that was easy." Like, I didn't even have to fish around or find out. Like,
was he noticeably Christian, or is like that one bad guy? Oh shoot, he goes to church.
I don't know. I guess. Well, I didn't know anything about him at that time, so I was like, "Okay, I'm excited. I'll talk to him." Yeah. And then I sat down, had a whole conversation with him in his car, and it was a good conversation. But something crazy is that I'm not gonna say where I work or who this coworker is. He's Christian, right? But compared to all my coworkers, he didn't act differently. Not that he was saying bad words or doing crazy stuff, but he just, you know, didn't like being there. He kind of just was like, had attitude sometimes. And but then there's other people at my work, so nice. Never a bad day. Always looking at life on the brighter side. And you can tell. And I wish I could be the same. Like you were saying, we're the light. And that's something we should be reflecting. We should be a source of like, oh man, I want to have a good day. Let me talk to him real quick. And it's tough.
It's important. I know it's really tough to always have a smile on and be at your 100% because we're humans, you know, and maybe we're young and someone older is like, wait till you have kids, wait till that, and then you'll get
life's
tired.
Gonna hit.
Yeah, but even though we still have to almost try our best. And then the way I always bring about when I'm, how I find that when people find out I'm Christian is cussing. That's like the first thing they notice, because they'll be like in conversations and they'll say it left and right, and they'll be like, dang, this guy never says a bad word. Like, or you can tell like he whenever he says a word, my eyes go like,
it's uncomfortable. It's like,
yeah, because you just feel like, I at this point I'm used to it, but at first time I work, I used to be like, he shocked me like, dang, you know? Can't believe, you know. Of course, I'm used to it at high school, but when you're talking to your boss and your boss, you're just like, oh, okay, yeah. But that's how people realize, like, oh, you don't cuss, you know, that's different. Or, you know, one thing it's super hard, but not talking bad about others. You know, that's one way that
complaining about other people.
About others. You know, I complain with my girlfriend. You know, when I'm at a
you
job,
can vent.
Yeah, but when I'm there at the job, I try to might be like, you know what, I'm gonna be my best. I'm not gonna be that one person like, that's always complaining. But yeah, you know, you have to be. It's not saying that you're gonna have to walk in and they're gonna feel like Jesus is walking amongst them. You know, like, oh my God, the holy one. Yeah. No, you know that, and that's the thing that's weird. A lot of people think that's how you know it should be. You know, like, don't touch me. You know, Jesus is with me. No, be you. You know, be normal. Talk about what's your favorite coffee. Talk about normal life.
Yeah.
But in those moments, be the better person. And you'll know, you know, like we were talking about cussing and being attitude. You'll know.
It shows.
Yeah.
And I think something to remember, like you're saying, like, yeah, it's not going to be easy and all this and that. And, like, you can't control how your coworkers will act towards you or how life's going to be, whether you're going to wake up on the bad side of the bed. You can't control life, but you can control how you react to life. And so if you had a hard morning and you walk into work or whatever, you do have the ability to flip the switch in your mind and say, okay, actually, there's still a reason for me to be grateful. There's still a reason for me to be happy. Yeah. But you just got to remind yourself. It's tough because it's easy to just let yourself like dwell in the negativity because it's all around you. Mm-hmm. We're in a world of darkness, so it's literally all around you. Yeah. But you got to remember that you are a difference maker.
And also remember, this isn't, just benefiting, like, because of the service of God. It's benefiting you by being the best, by having the best attitude. You'll excel a lot in life. And even outside of, Christian world, people always talk about this. The people that excel in life are those that are positive, those that are trying the very best. Motivated. Don't just show up and do the bare minimum, but try to go a little bit beyond that. So practice that, and you will see how God will bless you even more.
No, seriously. If you're just doing the bare minimum, you're not
don't expect more.
You don't expect the higher pay. Don't expect a better job.
Yeah. And it's part of life. Like, we're all going to start off somewhere small. I started off worked in the film world, and in college I was like, I can't wait to do movies. I can't wait to direct this and that. But I started doing weddings, and that's how I got into that world. Then I started doing videos for corporate, and eventually I made my way up. But it's a process, and it's like that verse of the
talents
that God gave them, when he gave them
one bag. I don't know how much. Yeah.
And then what did you do with that talent? Mm-hmm. We all start in different areas in life, because that's how the world is. Not everyone is born in the same, level. Some are blessed differently, and we can't complain about that.
Born into different families, different cities that make a difference.
We can't complain about that. We can just focus, okay, this is where I'm at now. Like that verse says, whatever you do, work at it with your heart. If you understand that, and if you capture that, like, don't complain about life. Man, my parents, because us, we're Mexicans. Oh, my parents are immigrants. They don't understand. Yeah. My friends that were born here, they know better. Yeah. It's not fair. It's not. No.
Don't let that.
Yeah, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart and see what God is going to do through you.
Yeah, seriously. Like, even thinking back to like when I was in elementary and the custodian, bro, the amount of love this custodian had because he loved doing what he did, even though it was dirty work. He probably wasn't getting paid much. I forgot his name, but everyone loved him.
He made an impact.
He made an impact. Literally, you being this person can make an impact on so many people. I'm talking about it, I don't know, 18 years later. I don't know the exact math, but he made an impact. Kids would come to school excited to talk to Mr. Whatever, and just because he did it wholeheartedly and he enjoyed it. And he had his outbursts sometimes. I remember he would yell at kids when they're like throwing apples or whatever, normal. But people respected him. People loved him.
Yeah, and that is true. Like, even I can, I'm not perfect and I'm not like 100% person at work or whatever, but I always try my best. And there are moments when people do tell me, hey, like, there's something about you. And I used to go to church, and it feels like seeing how you are, I feel like I need to go back to church. So there are those people that, that maybe they've fallen out of going to church, and just because you are doing your best, you're gonna encourage them to make an impact. Just like that janitor to make an impact on you as little kids, you can also make an impact on someone as your coworker. Let's say you don't work with little kids or something like that. You work just with coworkers. You might be the person that plants the seed for them to think like, what is different about this guy? And, oh yeah, he mentioned he goes to church. I guess there is a plus in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely talked about church a couple of times with my coworkers, my boss specifically. I remember one day on a Wednesday, he was asking me, hey, we're going to go grab drinks after work if you want to come. And I told him, no, I got church on Wednesday, so I can't come. But thanks, I appreciate the offer. And then every Wednesday he would ask like, hey, so Thursday morning he would always ask like, hey, so how's church yesterday? Literally, like, I don't even have to bring it up. He brings it up. How was church? Oh, so what else do you do at church? And I just tell him like, well, my dad's a pastor. I translate, I do this. And he's just like impressed, like, wow, you do. Wow.
So much.
So you're like, you go to church, huh? Like, yeah, dude.
You are church.
Yeah. And it just sparks these conversations that you wouldn't have.
Yeah. And it's you might find it crazy. That's like for me, ever since I started working, I do notice that there's a hunger for people to want to know more of God, but it's us that is going to allow that seed to grow, or that desire for them to want more. If they notice that we're a good person, if we mess up, like there's this other verse in Philippians chapter 2. I don't know if you have that one. Philippians chapter 2 verses 3-4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. So if you understand what this verse is saying is, don't be selfish, don't do stuff, don't do shady things or ways to go around the
talk
system,
behind their back,
or even just like in simple ways of like, I'm gonna, that let's say you're selling this or doing that and you try to charge more than what it is, or, just shady stuff like that. Have what is it called? Integrity. Yeah. In what you do. Don't try to like do stuff behind that's going to steal someone, because at the end of the day, you might think you might be winning an extra dollar, or, not wasting an extra dollar. But God is watching you. Mm-hmm. So if you do that, he's noticing that. You might think that no one else or that person in front didn't notice, but he is. And trust me, sometimes it's so easy to be like, no one's watching.
Right.
No one's watching. I could just say yes, or I could just do this, but you have to try to be the bigger person.
It pays off.
It pays off. Yeah.
What's more important, that small win or your character, or the long-term impact of what you do?
Yeah. And trust me, there's many times, especially when doing taxes, that I'm always trying to, when I was starting, I was like, I could write this, but
tax write-off for
everything. Even in those little simple ways is like, try to make sure you're doing everything correctly, because like the first verse, whatever you do with your heart. But also, like Philippians chapter 2 says, don't be selfish. Mm-hmm. God will bless you more.
Yeah. And another thing I want to emphasize on, or talk more in depth about, is, okay, so how do you deal with people who disagree with your beliefs? Like, what if you have some like conflicts there?
That's awkward.
Yeah. Like, there's a whole mix.
Have you had people fight with you?
No, but I have had.
Never, thank God.
Like, people, when I mention God, they're like, oh, okay, well, like I was having this conversation with someone and I mentioned church, right? And then like a few seconds later, we were talking about like, oh, favorite food. And I was like, oh man, I love Chick-fil-A. And they're like, oh, I would eat Chick-fil-A, but they hate gay people. I was like, You had to bring that in. Okay. Like, we couldn't just have a conversation about food. Okay.
It's just chicken, bro.
It's just chicken, bro.
Do you question all the restaurants, and know what the CEO? Yeah, I know. But it's because in social media, they get a really bad... people hate Chick-fil-A because of that. I think they mentioned once.
I don't know the backstory, but
yeah, it's like, what is that? How is that my fault?
I just crave chicken from Chick-fil-A.
I just wanted Chick-fil-A.
So that's like an example of like, there was like a minor conflict. And I mean, obviously the first thing you can do is just, let me not have an argument, because
you're not going to win.
You're not going to win. You're not going to win. You're just going to make yourself seem self-righteous, think you know more, or you're better. You don't have an argument. That's not the place for an argument or a debate.
Yeah, because most people, when especially they start off like that, they're trying to convince.
They're planting themselves.
They're trying to convince you. So you trying to convince them, it's like, you're never gonna win. Trust me, I've gotten into so many arguments, and that's one thing that I'm always like. Afterwards, I'm like, what was the point? Like, what was the point? Because we're both trying to win each other, and we both think we're right. Like, you're not gonna win an argument, sadly.
Not right then and there either.
No. Yeah. And then it's gonna make work awkward. Every day you're gonna bring Chick-fil-A and be like, and make it awkward to be like, put it closer to them and be like, get away from me.
Yeah, seriously. It's
it's awkward.
Avoid those types of conflicts. Those aren't healthy conflicts.
No, it's pointless.
Those are pointless. I think 3 takeaways for how to deal with people in the workplace. One verse I want to read is Romans 12:18. if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. As that verse says, if it's possible, live at peace with everyone. Don't start picking fights with people. Don't just, it's not a good representation. No. I think
in this, especially in this sense of and it's talking about work, you know, it's different, you know, when you're with your family, sometimes you're gonna fight, but at work, if you want to keep a healthy work relationship, and also remember these people that you work with, they're gonna come back around. You might work with them in different industries. So if you close the door for Chick-fil-A, you know, arguing about Chick-fil-A, what's the point? You know, it's not worth it. Sometimes it's better to just, oh man, I didn't like. I'm sorry, you know. I don't want to fight.
Literally, I was just like, oh wow, yeah. And then we changed the subject. I couldn't say anything.
You're like, no way.
I was just like,
yeah. It's not worth it. You know, as much as bite your tongue, you know, talk about it with your brother or someone else. But they're in the workplace, you know, especially because you're trying to be a representation of Jesus, a representation of your belief in God.
Be wise with what you say.
It's not worth it, because then they might be like, close their door to Christianity.
He's just like every other Christian.
Exactly. Judgmental.
Intolerant or whatever they want to say.
They're always going to judge.
Judgmental.
Yeah.
Judge. Another thing with that is, like you can have these conversations and debates with family or other believers, other people in the faith, because ultimately you're just building each other up.
Yeah. In a healthy way.
Because ultimately you guys both have the same goal in mind, both trying to understand God and understand the faith. But with a non-believer, if you start just like boom, 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 well, no,
it's tricky.
You have different goals in mind. Another verse I want to read is a famous Matthew 5:44. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. You know, instead of picking an argument right then and there, when you go home, pray about them, pray for them. Don't pray for them right then and there. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Or have a little water gun with holy water.
You said what? Spray holy water on them?
Yeah. And I really try to be the best person when I'm at work. Number one reason, because I've seen it now that I've worked for almost 10 years now, is they look for you. And I have so many situations where I just not try to pick fights or anything. And they tell me about their life, you know, hey, I'm going through this problem. Right. And they're willing to open up to you because they see you're not a person that's going to judge them. Nice. You see like a positive mindset. So they've opened up a lot to me. Like, hey, Carlos, do you have a little 5 minutes? Or they just start talking right to me. Yeah. So it's important because that's when the door opens a little bit. Since you've been good, you're not fighting, you're not arguing, you can plant the seed. All that God wants us to do is be planting seeds, you know, like little nuggets in that person's heart. And maybe some other person's going to pour some more water into that seed and let it grow. So, yeah.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah. I definitely have seen that too, where if you're not like talking bad about other people and doing all this and that, but if you're just kind of like there, just an open ear for people will reach out. They'll reach out to you. They'll talk to you. They'll respect you. And that, like you said, is an open door.
Yeah.
We don't want to start closing doors and just, it's not healthy. It's making things worse, if anything.
Thank goodness so far, I don't think I've ever gotten an argument with anyone at coworkers, but it has happened though. I've heard a lot of stories.
I do have a quick story because I'm not perfect and I want to be honest. So I work IT, right? And there's one guy who needed my assistance. His laptop needed an update, a serious update. And I told him, okay, do it right before you leave from work. Like, I'll do it at 5 p.m. before I leave for work so I could just do it overnight. And homeboy decided to do it first thing in the morning. And so he was like, hey, it's not working. It's taking longer than I thought. And I was like, oh, man. And he joined a huddle with me on Slack. I don't know if you ever use that. And I couldn't hear him, but he could hear me. And I was like, man, damn, I told this guy, do it in the right before leaving work. Why is he doing it now? Oh, man.
So he's...
And I was frustrated because it was early in the morning. I'm in a different building. I got to walk across the street to get to him. And I was just like, bro, if only he would have listened to me. And I was saying all these things, he could hear me.
Oh.
And I didn't know he could hear me.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
What did he say?
And so I walked over to the building, and he was like very serious. And I was like, I helped him set it up. And I didn't know until later that he could hear me. But he's from like Germany or something, so his English isn't that good. And so I don't think he understood everything. And I asked someone who was near the room with him. They're like, no, I couldn't hear you really say like any like talking bad. I just heard you like sounded frustrated, and you're like, oh, I gotta go over there. So like, no, I didn't hear anything bad. I was like, God, help me to never do that again. Help me to never complain about no one.
He probably did it on purpose. He was like, all right, let's see who this kid is, if he truly is as nice as he seems like.
Yeah, and he wasn't just a nobody. He was the VP of mechanical engineering. So I could have ruined my life right then and there, but I learned an important lesson. Don't complain.
Was he nice to you?
Yeah, he was super nice. He's super nice, but
he forgot. Yeah.
That could have been really bad, but I think God deafened his ears for a second and didn't hear the bad stuff. But the importance of just biting your tongue, and control your emotions. Don't let it slip. Don't ruin it. And
remember, all of this is just beneficial for you. It's beneficial for you. Like that's what I always tell people when they tell me about like, why are you a Christian? It's mostly just because I want to live a good life. Mm-hmm. There's nothing really in the Bible that's trying to like steal from you. It wants to make you live the full potential that God has for you. So that's it. You know, if you want to live a life that is, you know, full of purpose, read the Bible and just do what it says. It's not that hard. We is what makes it difficult. And we're humans, so don't think you're going to be 100% perfect. Like Sammy was saying right now, there's going to be moments like that.
You have slip-ups.
I've had slip-ups too. So it's not like, hey, man, like I'm if anyone sees me, my coworkers, they'll be like, what? Like there's so many times that, I'm just kidding. But, you know, we all have slip-ups. Yeah. We're not 100% perfect, but try to be. If you read the Bible, no one there is perfect.
Right.
If anything, some of the people that supposedly have like, God's like closest thing to God's heart is David. Mm-hmm. Look what all the stuff he did. Any of the stuff that he did, if you did nowadays,
you go to jail.
Yeah. So it's like God just wants you to be better. Mm-hmm. So don't think just because you did one or two mistakes, your life is ruined. No, God can change that, and you're not going to be perfect all the time, but you have to try to
start with the small. Literally start with the small. You'll see the effect. And we just hope this was an encouragement for you.
Yep.
Don't be discouraged. Get back up from even if you made a mistake today at work.
Yes.
Get back up.
Yeah. Don't mention Chick-fil-A at work.
I didn't know that was a hot topic. But yeah. Thank you again for checking us out and listening to our podcast.
Take care.
Bye.